Hi everyone, welcome to Gnan Cloud Garage. In this session, I'm going to talk about how to install CentOS 9 on a VMware vCenter virtual machine. So within our demo environment, we are using a vSphere 8. Okay, so this to install a CentOS operating system, it involves a 4-step process. So let's talk about the step 1. So prepare for installation. Before installing the CentOS, first we have to download the CentOS ISO and get the vCenter credentials. So to download the CentOS ISO, let me connect to our lab system. So if I search in the Google CentOS download, we can see the first download link itself from the www.centos.org website. So we can see CentOS Linux and also CentOS Stream. When you select the CentOS Stream, there are a 9 series version and 8 series version. And within the 9, there are a architecture x86 64, ARM, IBM Power, IBM Z. But generally, currently our lab system is running with x86 platform. So the relevant architecture, we have to choose this one. When I select this option, it will initiate the download. So when I click this one, if you go to the downloads tab, you can see download is already initiated. So currently the file is 9 GB file. So it may take a while, but with interest of our time, I already downloaded and uploaded to our ESXi host data store. Suppose ESXi02 and local data store. If I go to the ISO folder, and right side, if you go to the file section, you can see the information. There is a CentOS stream 9 latest is already uploaded to our data store. But for the production environment, this is one of the prerequisite. We have to download the ISO and we should have a vCenter credentials. So already we have vCenter logged with a administrator at the rate vSphere.account. So the same point only I highlighted in the step 1. So we already downloaded ISO, uploaded to the data store, and we have a vCenter credentials. That is our preparations. Okay. And the second step, create a new virtual machine. Okay, open your vCenter server, create new virtual machine, choose the guest operating system as a CentOS, and allocate resources. Resources means CPU, memory, disk, and NIC. And also we can choose the respective network, and we can choose the data store and complete the VM creation. It is same like last time I talked about how to install a Red Hat Enterprise Linux version, latest version 9. Same procedure for CentOS 9 as well. Okay, so let me log into vCenter again, and to create the virtual machine, go to the host and clusters tab and select a cluster, right click, you can choose new virtual machine. So while creating a new virtual machine, you can choose the VM name, any name. Let's say, for example, we are installing a CentOS 9. So I'm just choosing as CentOS 9-VM01. That means version is 9. Just for representation, this is the first VM. So we'll mention as VM01 and click on next. And if you want to choose the specific ESXi host, you can choose the specific ESX, or you can directly choose the cluster. Any option is fine. And compatibility checks are succeeded. Click on next. And we have to choose the data store. Either you can choose ESX2 or ESX2 local data store 1 or anything. Whatever the data store, we have a more free space. You can choose that data store. Let's say I choose the data store 2, it have a more free space. So click on next. And compatibility, currently we are using ESXi 8 version, so we can go with the default version. Click on next. And guest operating system, our guest OS family is Linux. So choose the Linux, and OS version should be CentOS 9. So just scroll down, you can look for a CentOS latest version. Let's say, for example, other Ubuntu, there are currently latest version is available, CentOS 8. Even for the CentOS 9, the latest version N-1 also, it's fine. Okay, and you can choose this version OS family. Now click on next. And customize hardware, let's say 1 CPU, or you can choose 2 CPU, and memory minimally 2 GB. Let's say make it as 4 GB memory, and the storage, it is showing as disk as 16 GB. Let's make it as a 50 GB disk, and better to make the disk type as a thin provision. Okay, So 50 GB disk is assigned, network is default network, and currently ISO we are not at mapped. We can map it once VM is created. Anyway is fine. So now click on next, and we configured all the settings just now. So 2 CPU, 4 GB memory, 1 NIC card and network card is make sure it's the latest model VMXNet 3, and capacity we given 50 GB. So now click on finish. When we click on finish in our recent task, we can see create virtual machine is completed. See the CentOS 9 VM01 is completed. VM is already ready to power on. But before power on, just go to the edit settings, right click the VM, edit settings, and map our ISO file. So you can choose data store ISO file, and within our data store, go to the ISO's location and select the under ISOs. We have a CentOS stream 9. So select the OS 9, CentOS 9 version, click on OK. And make sure connected power on option should be checked. Okay, this option should be selected. Click on OK. So now we mounted the ISO. When we power on, it will start mounting from a CentOS operating system. So I just clicked on power on. Now open the launch the web console. When we launch App Console, it will do the media testing, but ISO testing is already correctly downloaded. So if you want to skip the test portion, you can just skip, or else you can wait until the test is completed. Okay, I'm just skipping the test. We are good to proceed with the installation. Okay. So installation, once we mount the ISO, we powered on the virtual machine. We are accessing the virtual machine from the web console, and we started the installation procedure. So during the installation, we just to follow the on-screen instructions. Okay, if you see here, welcome to the CentOS Stream 9 version, and language you can choose the default language, English. So click on continue. And the keyboard, US English. Installation media we already selected, and installation destination we should select. And if you want to modify the partition, select custom, and you can click on done. It will show you we can create a partitions manually. So click here to create a partition. If you see here, slash it's assigned for 44 GB, slash boot is 1 GB, swap is it's equivalent to our memory size. So partitions are default, it's accurate. So the main key partitions are 3 partitions: slash boot, swap. Swap is almost equivalent to our memory size, approximately 4 GB, and the remaining size allocated for a root partition. Okay, so we no need to modify the partitioning. It's currently accurate only. So click on done and accept the changes. See the custom partition is selected already, and language support also okay, English. And for software selection, click on software selection, server with GUI, graphical user interface. If you want to install the any tools, you can choose. Suppose normally for virtual machine, post installation steps are we have to install a VMware tools. To install VMware tools with the default OS feature, you can choose the option guest agent option. When we select the guest agent, the agents used when running under a hypervisor. That means VMware tools will install automatically when you select this option. Okay, for example, if you didn't select the guest agent option, we have to install the VMware tools manually. Okay, so for this VM01, let's proceed with a guest agent selection option. I will show you another VM02 without guest agents option. And the remaining features, if you want to choose now, you can select it now, or else we can install it later as well. Okay, and any of the other important options, if you want to select also, you can select it here. Okay, so currently for the time being, I'm just selected only the VMware tools option, which is guest agent option. Now click on done. Software selection also done. And the time and date, currently just select the time and date. Currently Asia, this server is in the Singapore location. So time is okay. Now click on done. And the currently I selected as Singapore location. Suppose if your server is in a different location, you can choose your based on your location time zone. Okay, and the network and host name, and we can set the host name. Host name should be same as VM name. Let's say VM name is CentOS 9 hyphen VM01. Sorry. I think my keyboard T is double pressed. Sorry. CentOS 9 hyphen VM hyphen 01. When you click on apply, the host name will be applied, CentOS 9. And the IP address, it's automatically selected as DHCP IP. So if you want to modify, click on configure and change the IP address from IPv4 settings, IP version 4, and change the IP method to manual method, and you can assign the IP address. Let's say 192.168.10. I'm planning to give 10.11. And subnet mask, either you can enter a 24 or you can give a subnet mask full address 255.255.0. Okay, and the gateway in our lab, our gateway is 192.168.10.1. Okay, and DNS server 192.168.10. We are using DNS server is 53. Okay, so now click on save. When you click on save, it's stored with a 11 IP address, and the gateway is 10.1 and DNS is .53. Okay, so now click on done. So network and host name also completed, and root password is not yet set. So let me set the root password. Okay, root password is selected, and allow the root SSH login with password. So now click on done. And same way, if you want create a user creation, you can create, let's say GCZ user. GCZ is a username, and make the user as the administrator and set the password. Okay, and the password is selected, click on done. Now click on begin installation. So installation may take a while. So we have to monitor the screen until the installation is finished. So in the meantime, we can deploy another VM, virtual machine 02, without guest agents. We'll verify once installation completed, what is the difference. Okay, so for that reason, let's create one more VM with the CentOS just to validate the guest agents. Let's say CentOS 9. I'm using the same standard name, CentOS 9 hyphen VM hyphen 02. This is the second VM. And you can choose the any of the ESX hosts, let's say ESX2, next, and data store is same data store, next, and ESX8. Choose the operating system as Linux, and you can choose the relevant OS platform, let's say which is the CentOS platform, and click on next. And you can choose the CPU to CPU, and the memory, let's say 4 GB, and you can choose the hard disk also same size, same like VM1, 50 GB, and disk provisioning should be thin provision. Okay, and network is VM network. If you want to mount the ISO, you can mount it here itself. Data store ISO, and you can choose CentOS 9 latest one. Connected power on, click on next, and now click on finish. Okay, VM creation is completed. If you want to, let's just select the VM power on. VM power on is in progress. Now launch the web console. So here initially it will test the media. If you want to skip, just select the up arrow. Okay, select the up arrow and press enter. So second VM02 installation also in progress. In the meantime, we'll monitor the VM01. It's still going on. And come to the VM02, installation is in progress. Suppose in future, if you need a multiple CentOS VM's requirement, what the recommendation is, we can convert this virtual machine. Once we create one VM, you can convert this VM to template, and you can use the template to deploy the multiple virtual machines so that our manual steps will be reduced and deployment time also reduced. So let's select the language same, and installation location. We'll choose the custom. I think the partitions are still the same. We are not modifying because by default it's selecting the accurate partitions. Click on done, accept changes. And the software selection, as I mentioned, this time I'm not selecting the guest agent. That means we'll verify the when compared to VM1 and VM2, when we uncheck this option, VMware Tools has to be installed separately. Okay, so I just unchecking this option. Click on done, and time zone will set it with Asia Singapore time zone, and network option. If you want to set the host name, let's say CentOS 9 hyphen VM hyphen 02, and apply. Host name is set, and the IP address will configure as a static IP address IPv4, and choose the IP address as manual and add the IP address 192.168.10. Earlier we given 11, this VM I'm giving as 12, and the subnet mask 255 255.255.0, and the gateway is 192.168.10.1, and the DNS server IP 192.168.10.53. Okay, so now click on save. The settings are saved. Now click on done. So network and host is set, and same as previous, we have to set the root password. Okay, now allow the root access. Click on done. And same way user creation, let's use the same username GCG and mark as administrator and assign the password and confirm password. Now click on done. So we created one user called GCG. Okay, it says password do not match. So let me retype. Now click on done. So password match this time. So begin installation. Okay, VM02 installation is in progress. In the meantime, we'll verify VM01 still in progress. Okay, it may take a while. In the meantime, let's back to the slide and let me try to explain what we did until now. So let's talk about the step 3 now. So step 3 only we completed, install the CentOS on VM. We mounted the CentOS ISO, and we power on the virtual machine, access the virtual machine console, and we initiated the CentOS installation. So complete installation is currently in progress. Once it is completed, we have to reboot the CentOS virtual machine. Once reboot is completed, the fourth step is post-installation configuration. So during the post-installation configuration, we have to log in and validate our configured network settings, because during the installation itself, we assigned as IP address 192.168.10.11 for VM1 and 10.12 for VM2. Those IP settings we have to validate. We are able to access it normally or not, and we need to install the VMware tools. VMware tool installation, I shown you two options. When you select the guest agent option, it will install VMware tools automatically. If not install, we have to install VMware tools manually. Okay, and update the packages. Once the VM is ready, we have to run sudo space m space yum space update. So it will helps to update if there are any latest patches for this CentOS 9. Those patches will be updated automatically when we run this command. Okay, and finally installing the additional software. Suppose if you want to assign this CentOS 9 to end user or customer, whatever any project specific applications are required to be installed on this OS, we have to install the some project specific application, and finally we can hand over this virtual machine to the customer. Okay, so this is the 4 key steps when running the install the CentOS 9 on vCenter virtual machine. And for configuration perspective, for allocating resources for lab, I given as 2 CPU, 4 GB memory, and 50 GB hard disk space. But in the real-time scenario, we have to give the configuration based on the customer and application requirements. Okay. So test lab, you can give any configuration, and VM name, IP settings also you can give based on your network. But in the production scenario, we should maintain some template. Within a template, you can keep your virtual machine name, how much CPU is needed, how much memory, how much disk, and how many NIC cards we have to add, network setting information. These all information we have to collect in the during the step one initial stage itself. Using that template, you can follow to create the VM, install OS, and finally follow the post installation steps. Okay, so let's back to the lab. We'll verify what is the current status. See, it's almost going to finish, and even VM2 also, it's currently in progress. If you see here, see the post installation steps complete. So once the installation is completed, we have to do a reboot system. So click on reboot. If you see the message, CentOS stream is now successfully installed and ready for you to use. Go ahead and reboot your systems to start using it. So just click on reboot system. So reboot is in progress for CentOS 9 VM01. And let's go to the another tab. We'll verify. So VM02 may take a while. See, VM01 is booting up completed. So if you see our username GCC, okay. So CentOS is boot up. Let's select this VM and try to log in. See, once we log into the VM01, and we can see it's a take a tour and all, we can just no thanks. And if you see, this is the actual CentOS 9 VM screen. Go to the activities tab. If you want to open a console, you can open a console and see the status. Let's say if I want to see the administrative tab, su command, and currently we are in the administrator console. If you type hostname CTL, we can see the host name is CentOS 9 VM01. Okay, and it is running with CentOS Team 9 version. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, to verify the install VMware tools, go to the vCenter and select the CentOS VM01. And in the summary tab, you can see VMware tools are running because we haven't installed separately. During the installation, we just selected the option guest agent option. When we select guest agent, we no need to install separately. It will, the default OS consists of VMware tools, open VMware tools that will install automatically, and it is in the running state. Okay, but for when comes to VM02, purposefully we haven't selected. So that's the reason it is showing as not installed, not running state. Okay, so in our next session, I will show you how to install VMware tools manually on this CentOS 9 VM02. Okay, so in this session, we'll end here, and VM02 currently still in progress. It may take a while. Okay, so once it is completed, in the next session, I will show you how to install VMware tools manually on VM02. Okay, and when comes to the VM01, VMware tools validation is completed, and next step is we have to run the sudo m update command. This is specifically to update the packages. So let's back to the screen, same system VM01, and run the command sudo space m space update. So now the update is in progress. So when we run this command, make sure we should have a internet connection. Okay. Sometimes if you do not have internet connection, this process may fail. It is asking, is this okay? Just press Y and enter. It start downloading. See, if you see the updates, all completed. Okay. So even we completed the sudo m update option. And install additional software, it is an optional step. So depends on the customer requirement, you can install the applications. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you. If you're watching this video first time, please do view, like, share, and subscribe to the Gnan Cloud Garage channel. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate all your support. Bye for now.